order. This is the budget hearing for Code Enforcement Department, or the Division of Code Enforcement. We have our friends with Code Enforcement and MBD. My
141.
140.
I'm sorry. Counselors, we have Madam President Hudson, Pro Temp Hogan, Counselor Piniagua, Counselor Nave, Counselor Williams, myself, Counselor Jones-Rouser, and Commissioner Collins, and
Deputy Commissioner.
Deputy Commissioner
Dishaw.
Dishaw. Okay. Sorry, I always call it Jake.
You're great. You're great.
All right. First, before we get started, I want to acknowledge the work that you guys did to bring the Look Before You Rent, along with the others that worked on that in you guys' capacity, because we were getting a lot of steam, and the tenant union people were on our heels. So I do want to acknowledge and thank you guys for helping to get that in place, and all the work that you did to get it up and going. All right. All right.
So, Counselor, first of all, I want to say thank you very much for recognizing that. I had actually wore my Look Before You Rent pin.
Oh, where's my pin?
It was given to me. I'll see if we can procure a few more.
Okay.
But just to try to highlight this, it's a fantastic tool where you're able to go in and search by neighborhood, search by address, and find out if the housing unit that you're looking to rent has any open code violations.
Yes.
And so it's really a strong tool to empower our city residents, and as we're a growing city and more people are looking to move here, to make sure that they're positioned to make well-educated decisions. So with that, part of the team that built that tool, and we've heard it's a unique tool that no one that we've talked to is aware of such a tool existing elsewhere. Doesn't mean it doesn't, we're just not aware of it. But Rose Tardif is here, who's our director of our data team, and her and Jason Scharf from the API team work together to build that. We've also got Ryan Scheel, our director of code enforcement, and then Owen Kearney, deputy commissioner of planning and sustainability, and Deputy Mayor Owens here as well.
Okay.
So I'm just I'm here to introduce and then turn it over to our true expert here, Jake Dishaw. But we all love the opportunity to talk about the work that we do in code enforcement, which includes the work of permitting and the work of zoning as well, since that's all wrapped in there. But this past year, we've been super aggressive. We've closed a ton of stores. We've, working with our friends in law, taken a lot to court. So it's been a very productive year, and we're trying to tee ourselves up to be able to do even more next year. So with that, I turn it over to Deputy Commissioner Jake Dishaw.
Thank you. We put a one-page summary in front of you, but I'm going to take you through some of the highlights, and then we can go through everything in more detail from there or answer questions. But this proposed budget, what it does is it allows us to continue to be a national model. And I say that because we are recognized throughout the country for a lot of the work that we've been doing in code enforcement, to the point where later this year we will be featured in a textbook, which, I'm not boasting too much about this, but I'll be on the cover of it with a logo of the city. It's me placarding a building with a city logo front and center, dead serious.
Royalties?
Pennies maybe. We'll see. But the fact that other cities and other major organizations are looking at what we're doing here, I think matters. It's important to me, and that's part of why we're very proud to talk about the work that we've done, and the work that we're going to continue to do. And the way I like to classify it, it's relentless work to protect our neighborhoods and our communities. And we want to continue to bolster the quality of life for everybody, especially everybody that lives here. But we have a staff of people that kind of go unnoticed for the most part throughout the day out in the field. We have dozens and dozens of inspectors that are out. I call them unsung first responders. We sit next to fire and police, but a lot of times kind of just off to the side. But we're very important in keeping the quality of life and strengthening our neighborhoods. And our revenue is up. Our revenue is up, and we're projecting that to remain strong into the next fiscal year. So I want to take you through a couple highlights and year in review. Great opener, Counselor, with the Look Before You Rent tool. It's a one-of-a-kind tool, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback on that. But that's just one of the things that gets brought up from other communities throughout the country. People look at that stuff, and they're like, that's really cool that Syracuse is doing that. Like, we want something like that. How'd you guys do that? And that's just one of the highlights. We expanded our enforcement tools by amending our local ordinances for our Syracuse Property Conservation Code, our Certificate of Use, and our tobacco ordinance. These are things that really impact challenges that we have in our neighborhoods, like real-life situations that people have complained about for years that we really haven't been able to get a great grasp of until now. We're doing more than ever to enforce these things to, again, improve the quality of life in our neighborhoods is the key highlight with all of this. We had some part of helping to close over 40 illegal nuisance properties that were commercial, like corner stores, whether it was tobacco related, cannabis, just illegal clubs, hangout spots, after hours, all of that is kind of captured. That's a large number. I mean, count to 40 right now and see how long it takes you to get there. Like, we closed 40 different locations scattered throughout every side of the city that were just troubling for our neighborhoods. I can't be more proud of the work that our team's done with that. On top of that, we've done dozens of extremely large property maintenance cleanouts with CPTED, Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. This is in partnership with DPW, SPD, and Fire Department. I mean, Councilor Hogan, I'm looking at you. The one that we did recently on Richmond, we cleaned out tons and tons of debris in cleaning up these properties, and then putting concrete barriers in front so people can't offend dumping like that. It makes a huge difference in a neighborhood like that when we're able to clean up properties like that. I'm going to shift to permitting quickly. We set an all-time record for construction valuation, over $413 million in permit value for permits issued last year. It's been something that's been near and dear to my heart because in 2018, I was named permit director, and I kind of spearheaded all the work that went into making us a more modern permit office so we could serve and drive development in our city. And with that, I'm happy to announce that we implemented third-party plan review to help expedite permitting beyond just the plan reviewers in our office. We did the RFQ. We have a handful of qualified firms that we are partnering with to help us do third-party plan review, which helps get permits issued faster, which helps get shovels in the ground quicker, and helps buildings open faster.
Jake, we only got one of our own, right? Planning examiner.
One
another spot
commercial
open?
building right now. Yeah, we had a retirement, and then we've got a couple openings that we're still hopeful that we can fill. But
Will we expand that third party?
we are. So we're trying to create multiple lanes where we're doing some in-house, we're paying for some out of our budget based on our workload, and then giving other developers the option to say expedite where they would pay out of their pocket for it.
What was the number of openings not openings, but I know that you guys came before us a few months back about this. I thought it was like 13 or something. How many people you were looking to fill those positions, in-house and out, third party?
Well, in-house, we've had 3 openings for a while. But for external partners, I'll open this up to anybody that's qualified that wants to do it, right? I'm looking at Deputy Mayor because we want it to be easy to develop here, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're ensuring safety, right? I mean, we exist for a reason, but we want it to be a smooth process where things are getting looked at quickly, comments are going out, revisions are being made. We're looking at them as soon as they come back in. I'll be honest, volume and capacity has been a problem. It's been challenging. It's not, everybody wants their project done first, which I get, but they don't realize that you're in line too, you're in line too, you're in line too, you're in line too. And, I hear from people every day. And we're trying, this has been years in the making to get to this point, but this is a game changer. And it doesn't impact the folks that maybe say can't pay to play kind of thing, because it keeps our internal capacity from being overloaded, and it gives options if you want to expedite, and all while maintaining safety and quality of review to make sure that construction design and also construction is safe. I don't want to be on the news, with something collapsing during construction. It happens.
So I just want to add one thing to that point. So all of you, as you talk to developers, are aware of the fact that, what we've heard for the last 18 months is the money's not available right now, right? The cost of financing is very, very high. And so it's a real challenge for developers to do projects. In that environment, we set this record for permitted value, and that was with the fact that we've had the retirement. And so it's really we're seeing the fact that the community is overperforming what the market is right now, and if we're going to be able to keep that train moving, then we need to be able to have that capacity, and so that's what Jake's being able to address right here. Because if we can set a record when all the developers are saying it's really a hard time to do business, then I think that's really saying something about what we can expect for us to from a growth perspective.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Can I ask a couple of follow-up questions to that? So when, overall with permit, what is the average waiting time for, assume, a developer or?
So it depends on the type of permit. So we'll track it based on residential, commercial.
So say commercial.
Yeah, so a new commercial building for building and fire code plan review and approvals, we set our goal at 8 weeks.
8 weeks. So that's just a little bit under 2 months, right? Okay. And part of the reason is 4 weeks, 8 weeks, is because you don't have the internal capacity to really expedite that, right?
Until just recently, yes. We've had a couple of plan reviewers in-house that were doing everything that was coming in under that category, where now we're going to farm these out as, to all these firms that are on our list. They're going to be working just like our plan reviewers that are sitting at One Park Place right now. The only difference is they're not employed by the city of Syracuse as a full-time employee. They're working for a firm that either provides these services to governments, or they're just an architect or an engineering firm that wanted to do this. And we're going to keep adding people to it. I totally expect to be back before you to add more qualified individuals and or firms to our list. Right now we've got a handful, but I want to increase that. And yeah, so exactly right. A lot of it is capacity. Some of it is we only control about half of that process. You got to remember there's a developer and an owner and a contractor and a design professional. Like, we need things from them too. A lot of times we send them a list of, hey, you're missing these 10 things, or you're deficient in this area. Please correct this and send it back in. And then it's kind of on their watch. Like, we're waiting on them actually to send it back to us. But what this does is when they do make revisions and send it back in, is we're able to get to them quicker. So we're managing new things coming in and revisions all the time.
Jake, but some of the delay is because of our departments that you have to work with, correct? The city departments? I mean, you have to work with fire, engineering, and everybody else. And I'm just wondering if they have the same urgency you do as far as pushing those permits out there.
Well, they do, because we've centralized this as being a challenge or something that we're addressing as the central permit office for the city of Syracuse as a whole. So to your point, yes, there are departmental reviewers from Public Works, from water engineering, transportation,
In the fire department.
the fire department, but they sit right next to us. They are in our building. They're part of this process, and they are committed to improving these timelines so we can help development happen for our city. Everything. Oh my gosh, we got rid of, that was what, a couple years ago, we got rid of paper. Everything is digital now, which saves money, by the way, for developers, because the cost of paper alone can be thousands for a big project.
About
Now,
trees too.
they used to have to print 8 of these out because a couple of them had to come to the permit office, a couple of them had to go out to water, a couple of them had to go over to DPW. There's none of that now. It's all digital at a major cost savings and time saving, because we're not even physically routing stuff like that anymore. It's just instant. And a lot of places aren't there yet. Not that I want to keep, I want to set the bar nationally, not to keep just harping on what other places are doing, but a lot of places they're nowhere close to being where we are, being digital. And I want to take it further. I want it to be a smooth process that's easy to start, easy to finish, but maintaining the safety and quality of the work that we're doing. I'll never sacrifice that.
Jake, to Councilman Machuck's question, where do we stand as far as issuing permits, like compared to like our sister cities like Buffalo and Rochester and Albany? As far as how fast they get their permits out?
I mean, I don't have their data, but I think we're ahead of them.
Okay.
And I've been to a couple conferences the last couple of months. Other places within our central New York community, it's taking 3 times as long. And I want to get to my next point, because another thing that impacts this prior to the fire code and building code is the zoning approval process. And I can't speak enough about what we've done to streamline that process, but I mean, I'll straight up ask any of you, how many of you have had a major project where somebody's come to you complaining about getting through zoning? It hasn't happened in the last year and a half since rezone. And I attribute that to not only the code change, but the administrative changes and the staff changes we've done to the staff report. The Planning Commission is seamless. And there are dozens and dozens of reasons to administratively approve projects. So everything used to have to go before the Planning Commission. Now there's what we call minor site plan approvals, where we're still making sure they meet code, but I'm signing off on it as zoning administrator, and they're getting approved quickly, like 2 weeks or less. And if you got to go on Planning Commission, we're doing it. We do have to public notice those and advertise, so that takes a little bit of time. We have a meeting every 3 weeks. It's similar to the council schedule. But we're getting people on those agendas, and very few are being held. You get on that agenda, you're going through, because we've made sure that the staff is ready, that the applicant's ready, and it's good to go, which helps you get in front of permitting quicker. And people don't separate it in their mind. They just say, it's taking me forever to get through the permitting process. Well, there's a land use zoning process, then there's a plan review process, then you got to go through your inspections. These are all separate phases. And I realize the average person doesn't think of it that way, but the zoning part is a big piece of this. And I can't say enough about how you have helped us fund the staff for that and put me in a position to succeed. And we continue to drive changes. We're already making another set of amendments to improve that.
Jake, we actually voted for the zoning.
I know.
First zoning since 1967, so.
Yeah, totally. But it's a huge part of what we're talking about right now, with people getting through that so they can get to the technical building and fire code review. It used to be the major delay in development here, and it is not anymore. So I just want to point that out, that that's a huge part of what we've done, and it's a huge part of permitting, because it's the first step.
Before you go,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to ask about, because you talked about everything being digital. Do the inspectors, do they use any type of digital software when they go out, similar to like property management companies, that when they're on site, they take pictures or report, however, in the system? Do they have that?
Yep. So all inspectors have iPhones now. It wasn't that long ago that they didn't have iPhones. They had flip phones, believe it or not. But we've addressed that and changed that. They also do have tablets. I will say this, our code enforcement program is on-premise, so it's not web-based. So the connecting to the server for that out in the field has been slow. And we've tried, but it is possible. There are some things you can do, but inspectors are armed with what they need before they go out in the field, and they can always call and get access to information from our staff at any point throughout the day if they need something checked. And they can look up information on their own. It's just the app for, if you've heard us speak about IPS, is just, there's something to be desired there. I'll say it like that. But we are looking to hopefully address that moving forward.
That is one of the software things that's holding us back right now a little bit from being as efficient as we could be, is the fact that we're using a system that was excellent at the time that it was adopted, but it's out of date.
Commissioner, right? That's, no? Okay. What is, I want to, Commissioner, right?
Sure, it's a mouthful. Deputy Commissioner.
Deputy Commissioner, okay.
Yeah, of code enforcement and zoning administration, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner Jake. So with these positions, I see you only adding 2 new ones.
Yeah.
But where do you fall along and where does, so I see where Commissioner Collins falls along, but where do you fall along as far as the pay in here? Because yours isn't under the personal service details.
Where are you looking?
Are you in SUR?
Yes, yes,
So you get paid through SUR?
yes.
Yeah,
The org chart. Okay. The org chart.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I have an org chart. We sent it to you digitally, I believe, right?
Yes.
I have one large copy that I can pass around if needed.
Okay.
So,
Did we get the copies of the SUR?
No, I didn't get SUR. So is that just your SUR in your
yeah,
department, right?
so most
Okay.
of the employees in the Division of Code Enforcement are civil service, union.
Okay.
They're in the city budget. It's really just a handful of management. I mean, there's a couple others, but not many. Like, if I had to put a percentage on it, I would say 90% or more of code enforcement staff, they're civil service tested, they're union, they're in the city budget. They're in the, what we call, is that the 101 line, right? Whatever they call it.
100.
100.
So out of these 52,
Yep.
there's other staff that are in SUR, or this is just,
There-
some
yeah,
of these
there-
line items are SUR?
No, all the 52 you're seeing on page 142, those are all of the city non-SURA positions.
Okay, these are non-SUR.
These are civil service.
Yeah,
And union.
yep.
Okay, so then there's how many in SUR through you?
I'd have to go through
she
and
took your
count.
sheet?
Yeah,
Assistant directors,
yeah,
directors,
there's
and
the directors, myself, the directors, the assistant directors, couple others like our lead coordinator,
where the civil service positions just don't line up with it. So it's probably roughly a dozen.
yeah.
But we can get that number to you.
What do I say, for me personally, when going through the book, that it makes it hard to figure out who's in what's, when we're breaking it down. Even though it's in SUR, it could just be under your item that this is the part, but this gets paid here, because it's still out of the budget. You know what I mean? It's just in a different line item, just so we know. Because then you look back and you're like, wait a minute, I thought MBD already had it. But then
Sure.
there's some more hundreds of thousands that come from
Well, but
SUR.
that shows up in the professional service. Say again? 24, the professional services line? Yeah. So that's,
Only for this department, though.
well, but it'll show up, for me, it shows up as those services in each of the budgets that we have.
Right, but SUR gets paid, there's a lot of departments that use SUR, right? So you're just saying, are you just saying for MBD? Right, so it's
Yeah.
not just directed to you, it's just saying that when we get it, now we gotta figure out, looking at the budget, who's in SUR, who's not in SUR.
Yeah.
That's all. So you got 50, so how many people are, Jake, do you have on your team total, including Sarah?
You're about 80?
Yeah, 79,
79, wow.
I think.
So the 545 is the Sarah, right?
And
In the professional services.
What-
That's line.
What page are you looking at?
143,
Uh-huh.
and it,
541,500.
right. There's a proposed 500,045.
So
Is that Sarah?
that's 5417.
It's on the-
contracted services.
The 2.2.
Oh, I see.
so Sarah
Yeah, so-
is 541700?
No, that was asking for that. Okay, got it. So the 2 million, yeah.
So the 79 is minus the outside third-party contractors.
Correct.
And how many of those do we utilize currently?
Well, we got the one for elevators that was on your agenda today, and then I believe we have 5 or 6 others that are, were part of the RFQ recently, and then we're looking to add at least 2 or 3 more that we're aware of right now, if not more.
Okay.
To come back to amend that or add it. I could take you through the professional services, so
Tom, let's go before all of them, before we start professional services.
Sure.
Because I'm looking at the numbers, and even with the temporary services, it almost doubles.
She needs a mic.
And Madam President, can I give a little context? You know, I feel like I put codes in the same bucket as I put police and fire, you know, as you acknowledge that it's something that none of us want to cut because we know that there's a direct benefit to a lot of people in the public. But the number that jumps off the page, kind of going to what Madam President's talking about, is a 35% year over year from prior budgeted year to current year. And, you know, that's, I don't need to talk about kind of the climate that we're in,
Sure,
both local level and, you know, state level, federal level. That's big.
Yeah.
And, you know, Commissioner, you approached me in the hallway and said, is there anything that I'm looking at or looking for today? And, you know, what I told you is that we're in a time where we're going to need to start to differentiate and distinguish between what we want and what we need.
Sure.
And, you know, a lot of these luxuries that, you know, I recognize that might not be perceived as luxuries, but, you know, we need to think about what is critical and essential compared to what we might be able to live without. And when I see a 35% jump year over year, what value add is given to the city or to the taxpayer? And, you know, I'm looking at, you know, a whole bunch of different numbers there, and we'll get into the rental registry in a little while. But, you know, again, that 35% year over year that I think, you know, Madam President is looking at line items, but I wanted to just cast the bigger picture before we jump into that.
So, and I appreciate the conversation earlier. Thank you for taking the time. So when Jake mentioned, you know, 79 staff, that is enforcement, permitting, zoning. Many municipalities that are similar size to us, that's simply what their enforcement staff looks like from a head count, from what we've learned over our years of, you know, learning from our friends and figuring out how to do this best. So the biggest, you know, we've got only 2 new positions in here, which are, again, more code enforcement. You've seen what we've been able to deal with the store closures, with taking landlords to court. You've also seen that our housing condition and the condition for some of our commercial buildings, it still has a long, long way to go to be where it should be. And so what we're trying to do is inch our way up towards the minimum that we would need to be able to do that. The really big part of this right here is the $500,000 for the third-party plan review. To the point Jake made earlier, you know, we've had retirements. Those senior people that are able to do that senior level stuff are few and far between, and at this point, most of them are in their career choosing to work at on the private side for bigger bucks than what we're able to pay. So if we're going to be able to continue to meet this. So Jake gave the example of 8 weeks for a new commercial build. You've got everybody that wants to also remodel their commercial, do anything from a fence on their home to a new roof on their high rise. Without that money, we will go backwards in how long it takes for us to issue permits. And so what it means is we will slow the economic growth of Syracuse. So that's where the tie-in is, because if we can't issue permits for 16 to 20 weeks because we just don't have the staff to do it and don't have the ability to contract with external partners, we simply don't have a way to do the work. And that's where the construction jobs get delayed, and so we just don't have as much employment in construction, and we don't have the economic activity that comes from whatever that new building or that new remodel is going to create.
How many of these are ARPA positions? Any of them?
ARPA, nothing.
None of these were flowed through ARPA at any time?
Never.
Commissioner, I'm trying to work through that in my head. So you're saying without additional funding, we go backwards?
I am, because what we've seen is the reason that we've been able to do as much as we've done this year is we've transferred some funds, such as, we've gotten rid of one of the senior positions, recognizing that we haven't been able to fill it, move that money over to third party. We've been able to transfer some other unused money over to third party. But that's really just coming from vacancies that have come up throughout the year that you can't necessarily always plan on. Jake's taken it from a few other places, so I should probably stop talking and let him talk.
This is becoming, it's a national challenge. The code enforcement career, a lot of people are retiring, and it's becoming really hard to backfill. This third-party plan review model is something we need to embrace and adopt. And the 500,000 of that in that line that you're looking at, Counselor, under professional services, that's so we can help pay for applicants' plans to go get reviewed faster by a third-party firm rather than sit in queue in-house. So there's a huge value there.
You have, Jake, it might help us if you had like send us an email regarding the amount of people you have at third-party examiners, and then just juxtapose that with the amount of projects that they have approved and how much revenue that is.
Yeah.
Not only revenue to us, but money that, like a $200 million project, $150 million project, just that total.
Sitting here right now, to the commissioner's point, I don't have the number, but we've third-partied out since the new year, probably 30, 40,
Yeah,
50
like
commercial
Yeah,
projects.
but we'll get it to you.
That would not have been moved. I mean, a lot of them would still be in
We have the
line.
total amount projected,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
look how much money those projects
we'll get it to you.
are going to pump in the economy.
You know, another one of the expenses that's here, and why it's an increase, and it's for grass mowing. And I bet you anything, constituents in all your districts have reached out about vacant houses and vacant lot overgrowth and trash. We recoup some of it. We bill this money, so it goes through the city. We have to send somebody out to cut your vacant lot or your vacant house. You're getting a bill, and if you don't pay it, it rolls onto the taxes. So, yes, it's more, but there's a huge. Who wants to live next to a vacant house that isn't getting cut? I mean, we need this money. I mean, this is huge. I mean, one thing I failed to mention, this is my 25th year working for code enforcement. People joke, they're like, "Were you a baby when you worked?" Yeah, I was 15 years old. And you want to know what I started doing?
Pretty sketchy people to work for, too, I'll tell you.
I was cutting vacant lots in vacant houses, cutting grass, picking up trash, and painting numbers on houses. Right? Director Shield did it too. That's where we all. And listen, to look at where we've come from then until now, like, it's been amazing. And we still have so much work that we need to do. Code enforcement is going to be huge in the success of the rest of the city moving forward with our housing.
Can we use teenagers now?
What's that?
Can we hire teenagers now to help with some of that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I do have, we have some temporary positions. It's still in here, the temporary services. it's to hire summer workers to cut grass.
That would be phenomenal to get some of those 16 and up to be able to come in there and do some of that work for the city.
That's how we started.
Amen.
Jake, so I'm gonna speak for myself. I'm not gonna speak for the council about it, but I know what you do. It's heavy, right? We know some of the issues that you're facing outside with the community, and also just some of the great, like the communication, right, is going on with the community, and things are getting better with stuff. My biggest concern is, right, we have 79 jobs, and we see the workflow of the jobs, but trying to transparent, putting them all in, understanding, like, I see the flow chart, but like, understanding really what they do, right? Because what you see in the budget, you know, mayor's office want to raise the taxes by 2%. So we're getting hit, right, all day long. Like, why? And I would love to be able to sort of explain, like, I see, you did a great job with the flow chart, but I don't know what some of these people really do. Like, can we, like, bring you guys back at another time and, like, break down some of these departments?
We can walk through the code. So this is all of neighborhood and business development. If you want, we can take a minute and walk through the code enforcement section of that right now.
Yeah, maybe a better way to even to think about it is, this budget is only asking for 2 new inspectors and a data mapping analyst. It's all the rest of this has been in our budget for years.
And how long has it been vacant? They've been vacant.
Well, so the only position that we've had some challenges with filling are the plan reviewers, which is why we're asking for $500,000 in third-party plan review money, so we can help offset some of that and get projects assigned third-party. Those are the only, our inspector positions, pretty much full all the time. If we have one open up, they get filled pretty quickly. We don't struggle there, but we need more. We need more inspectors out in our neighborhoods helping with this stuff, and it's all driven based on the housing strategy, but also just the needs of our neighborhood. Even before that, I needed more.
But the in-house party planner, the in-house,
We could add that position if you'd like. Council.
Party planner, okay.
The plan reviewers.
plan reviewer, what's the struggle?
Well, I think what Commissioner Collins was getting at is that level of expertise that we need. They're either already in a career elsewhere, and the residency is a challenge, of just being honest, because they're like, I have kids, they're in high school, I can't move into the city. That's one of the things that we kind of run into. Or they're making double, triple, quadruple working
somewhere
for a firm. I mean, we had a fire protection engineer once in the fire department. He works for CNS companies now out at the airport because he probably makes about 4 times what we could pay him.
Has there been a route where maybe during the spring and summer months, we've opened it up to a waiver for the residential, just for a season, to bring someone on? I guess I'm talking to them.
Well,
You know, as a temporary situation where they don't have to.
yeah, I think we've kind of, we solve that problem if we get this money for third-party plan review, because staff then we can focus on the kind of over-the-counter stuff that's more smaller residential. Bigger stuff, we can do some of it in-house, others, it goes out third-party.
The pay is going to be the biggest barrier,
yeah,
right?
I assume so.
Yeah, so it's, you know, when we've had the position posted, it's not that we don't get responses, it's that we don't get qualified responses. And the pay is the biggest driver of
You know,
that.
as district counselors, I got a call just this afternoon for about an hour on Spring Street. You know, he's frustrated because some areas are kept clean, some are not. And he said to me, why can't the city just go do a massive sweep? And I said, you know, I call DPW and I call codes, and I always cover you and DPW together. But you just have to let me know. It's sometimes we feel, I don't know, you feel, sometimes it's a losing battle. You know, it's every time we think we've accomplished something. But I said, we do go after these absent landlords. We do board up vacant houses. We do much we can. We go mow these vacant properties, we do, but again, we do put the bill on the landlord. And And I think maybe because the summertime is the worst time, maybe we should emphasize more getting summer employment for kids who can help do things like mowing the lawn and sweeping the sidewalks and boarding up properties, I think, and just showing the young kids to take some
I agree with you,
respect.
Marty, and I would like to see Jake go through HR to do kind of like DPW does with the temporary summer positions when it comes to this. And I also would like to ask that maybe on that north end, because that seems to be the worst end to me, that we start putting out, maybe we can put some trash cans on the different corners by the corner stores. Because when those folks get out of there, if there's not a can there, guess where it's going? On the ground.
Right.
I've been saying for 3 years, the Disney study, every step, so many steps from a business, there should be a trash. Prevents trash.
And thank you for the Scott for Parkside, because they were blowing us up about all that trash that was piled up. I know it wasn't your responsibility because they're a private management company, but I thank you for stepping in, because if you hadn't, we'd have rodents running all up and down Fayette Street.
So I drive through Parkside probably 3-4 times a week. But Jake's work, Ryan's work, and I want to specifically shout out our building inspector, Reggie Packer, who is spending a significant amount of time up there, and also organized a meeting Friday with management and code enforcement and SPD as well, as we work to really make sure that the new ownership is taking full responsibility.
Let me ask this question. I'm not trying to, but between Parkside and the Skyline, we chose these people to do a job that they're not doing. When is the accountability coming in play?
So I'm really glad you asked that question. Part of it is these were private sales between two parties. So for Parkside, we didn't have any court involvement the way that we did with Skyline. So I was fortunate in the fact that the sellers of Parkside had brokered a meeting with the buyers before they closed on it. And I was very, very clear with them that in their current state, security was their first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th concern, and have met with ownership multiple times around that. I still don't know that they fully have embraced that message. And so we're continuing to talk with ownership about it. I text ownership pictures of just the trash to stay on it. So we didn't really have a say in influencing who the new ownership would be there. For Skyline, you've seen that our fantastic friends in law have taken the current owner to court because they did promise the court that they were going to do certain things, and they've got open code violations that they have not handled.
Did that include Vincent too?
So Vincent was separate in the fact that the first three properties that they really contracted on and we were working on were 600 James, the Chestnut on the 900 block of James, and 753 or Skyline, right? Vincent was not included in that. So what's been really frustrating for us is we've seen this company advertise the fact that they just raised $83 million a year ago for all of their portfolios that they have in the different cities. They, mid-March, announced that they're doing a new $300 million fundraising campaign, and yet we see no money spent on Skyline, and they're minimally meeting the needs at James and Chestnut. And to your point, Vincent, same thing. So that's why we took them to court.
Different companies?
One company, 4 properties.
Right.
So Vincent, Skyline.
And the ones.
600 James, well, otherwise known as the James, right? Yeah, and then the Chestnut. Now, they've got new names for all the properties. We in Syracuse aren't really quick to pick up new names. I'm guilty of that, so that's what I go by with those. So, yeah, we've been, with Jake and Ryan and I, along with Rob Brandt and Deputy Chief Craner, walked through Skyline the day after we found the water break. So that Sunday, we were, climbing literally frozen stairs, and we made sure that they were not going to get power back on until it was
I think
safe.
there's going to have to be a deeper board up, Because those kids, as Counselor
Yeah.
Cardwell pointed
Last
out,
night.
caught them crawling in and out the boards last night.
And they
So
had
we
to
need to
decide to
do
take 'em
something
home
a
to their
little
parents.
bit different with the board ups. Then the second one
Sure.
I want to ask you, this one right here on James Street, next to OIP,
Yes.
what are we doing?
I don't have an update on that currently. I don't know if you do, but I'll look into that and get back to you on it.
The vacant one?
Yeah.
The one that they
let's
set on
board it up.
fire and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. I'll take a look at that and I'll get back to you.
I'm sure the Century Club is not happy with that property.
I'm sure they're not. Definitely.
Commissioner, can you tell me what home is? I remember that term from last year, but high occupancy monitoring something.
And enforcement, right?
and
Deputy
enforcement.
Mayor Owens created that. That's really where we decided that one of the best things that we could do is cross-reference our police call data and our code enforcement data while we look at our high occupancy buildings to figure out which ones were the greatest challenges. Skyline was certainly number one. But we have since used it as things have quieted it down in many of our high-rise buildings. We're still using it. So we're using it with Nob Hill right now.
So is this a specific committee or?
It's an ad hoc internal group across departments where we're really trying to focus on where are problems in our multi-unit buildings and making sure that if we're seeing it with police, but there's not necessarily a mechanism where their data just rolls up and creates an alert to say, hey, check and see what that looks like on codes. So that's why we set it up so that we can intentionally do that.
Did we have a timeline for these businesses, for these buildings, where it's like a timeline when they walk before, like, okay, they're gonna, or did we just?
So the Chestnut and James, they never emptied those, right? They were able to get through to get their certificate of compliance. They were able to occupy them. Skyline, what we were told was that Skyline and Vincent, we're going to take care of it right away. Obviously, they've not made any effort to do that. The two efforts at the moment seem to be restoring power so that they can get the cell tower working on top of Skyline, and to try to convince their investors through the media that our lawsuit is really just a misunderstanding. Our lawsuit is not a misunderstanding, and that's why we've used the courts to go after them. And we've asked the courts to put the building into a receivership so that the building can be remodeled and reoccupied.
As far as the,
Vincent too?
Not yet at Vincent. We're just focusing on Skyline. This, I think it gets back to a capacity issue, as we've been talking about. If we had twice as many lawyers and twice as many in code enforcement, we would have done it with Vincent. We would have done it already with a few others as well. But respectful of the environment that we're in fiscally, this is what our
So
capacity is.
with this company, did you have a thorough background check, know their finances?
So again, this was a private sale between two parties where we were asking the court for a receiver, and so we were working through the court with it as well. So it's in the same way that I, as a government official, cannot dictate who you sell your house to. I've got the same situation with the commercial stuff. Yeah.
so as far as like, I guess, number of offenses or violations, at what point does receivership come into conversation? Because, I mean, Nob Hill, I'm concerned that they need to be next in line.
Yeah, so we run a report on code violations with Nob Hill on a weekly basis. We're up there all the time. We've got two inspectors dedicated to that area that are both doing a lot of work on that building. It's not off the table for us to have court action against anybody, including Nob Hill, but I don't want to get into more of that in public session, if that's okay.
We're talking about a housing shortage. I'm going to kind of piggyback on
Sure.
what Councilor Rouser-Jones was saying. So when you talk about Skyline, I don't know how many apartments there.
350.
350.
353, I think, technically.
I'm just going to say 350.
Yeah.
Parkside Commons,
Don't have that number in my head, but it's a similar number
just say 300.
overall.
Vincent,
About half that.
150?
150-ish, right? 120? Yeah, the 120 to 150 range.
Valentine.
Say we left out Valentine.
Yeah,
forget about Valentine.
that one I don't have a good guess at the top of my head. Yeah, wait, we can get it to you, but
Okay, and Nob Hill.
Nob Hill's 700. Yeah, we'll look it up.
Okay, so we're talking about between 1,000 and 1,400 apartments.
Yeah.
That people would be able to live in, but they're at the point that, they're offline, most of them.
Well, Nob Hill is largely occupied.
Nob Hill has a lot, we've been getting emails for the past week about Nob Hill.
So Nob Hill's had problems with a lot of problems. What's been in the news lately has been the hot water for Building 3. But yeah, Ryan's team is constantly writing violations for that. So Nob Hill and Parkside are both largely occupied. They're Parkside, I believe, is about 92% occupancy. They should be at about 95. The challenges from a sheer number of units standpoint is Skyline, Vincent, and Ballantyne, with the fact that Ballantyne is partially occupied. Ballantyne also now has a new owner because that's a building where the bank was able to get a receiver to take the property over from the ownership. They recently did have a sale, and so we'll be working with the new owner to make sure that they understand how to do things in Syracuse.
And then I missed one, the one right over here, which I know doesn't belong, it belongs to Upstate.
Yeah, and that Upstate. What Upstate has said is that they are still working on their overall plan that is included in. So whether or not that becomes housing again or something else, we don't know.
have close to maybe 2,000 apartments between all of these folks that we could house people in.
Well, the two largest there are largely occupied, though.
It's
So-
Nob Hill and Parkside.
Correct, right. So it's really Skyline's the big one, just as far as vacant units sitting there. Skyline's the big one. Vincent's next. Excellent point about the one owned by Upstate. We have no control over that. And
What about Snowden?
I guess,
that's still occupied.
That's
so
still
that's what I was about to say. Like, we've gotten here with all of these other buildings.
Yep.
What proactive nature or footsteps or processes are we putting in place with other buildings, no matter what the size is, so that we also don't end up here?
Yeah, go ahead.
So all buildings that size, they go through an inspection every 3 years.
Do we need to
So,
change that?
Well, that's state law, so we could maybe do something more. We're going to need more inspectors. But we also strongly always encourage tenants to call us, and we had this conversation. Sometimes they're afraid, right? And we try to partner with groups out there that can help with that and defend that. But outside of that, I want to get back to the home unit because, and receivership's not always the answer, because Ballantyne had receivership, and that's really, it's had receivership for a while now. And yeah, there's a new owner, but it's not like that's ready to 100% right now either. So, although receivership can and is a good tool, it's not always the best tool. But the home unit really addresses everything. We're looking at calls to police, fire, code enforcement. We're working with county health. Sometimes we're working with nonprofit organizations if they have services or clients in the building. We're taking a holistic approach onto what is happening here and why is this property being a strain on city services. And sometimes if it's a large building, like that's a lot of people, 300 plus apartments filled, got 1,000 people maybe live there, right? Like, I mean, these are.
Let me ask you a question though. So who are the owners? Are they in our city? Are they in our state? Are they out of our state?
The group that we're most interested in is out of Chicago.
That's
right now.
Skyline.
Skyline and the Vincent.
Yep.
And we are aggressively taking steps to address the issues with those properties.
Parkside is downstate. Nob Hill is Texas. Ballantyne, I don't have that in my head. What was the other one that you'd asked about?
The Harrison, we know that's upstate. Nob Hill is Texas.
Yep.
Valentine, you don't have in your head. Benson is Chicago.
Yep.
Skyline is Chicago.
Yep.
And Parkside is who?
So there's two ownership groups, but they're both downstate.
Both out of state.
No, downstate, like
Downstate.
Long Island, New York City.
Okay, they're in New York State.
They are. Yeah.
Hey, when you talk about aggressively going after this individual, what does that mean? How do you aggressively go after them?
Sure.
Yeah, good.
The alignment and concentration of work with code enforcement and corporation counsel has never been what it is right now. Ever. I mean, in the 25 years that I've been involved with this, we've never taken the steps and measures that we've taken over the last 7 years. Never. It's never happened. Unprecedented. Here. But it's all the work that you're seeing out of the law department, all the court battles that we're in and winning. We're not just going to court, we're winning. We're winning in court. Like, that's it. Code enforcement can only do so much with administrative fines and ticketing and violations to a point where you got to bring in the stick, and that's where the lawyers come in. We try to get compliance. That's what we want, right? We don't want to be issuing these violations. We try to work with owners, try to get things fixed and repaired. But these large commercial building owners that are these large apartment complexes, like, they're making money off this, right? Mm-hmm. I don't feel bad about kicking them to court immediately. But court, sometimes we get judgments. It doesn't fix the violations. I've seen landlords get thrown in jail. Doesn't fix the violation on the house.
The last time we've done that. I mean,
Listen.
we've been through this so many years. I mean, there isn't federal, state, or local law that really handles the situation when they get involved with these hedge funds or anything like that, and they're peddling all these properties all over the country, and they treat us like that.
So
I just think we want to make sure that we're taking as aggressive actions as possible, right to the law, right to the limit of the law.
So to Jake's point about the fact that, that this relationship between code enforcement and council is the strongest he's ever seen. The reason that we've been able to be so aggressive, and we've got major cities across the country taking a look at what we're doing in these different areas, is because of the fact that we've broken down the barriers across departments. And between Jake, Ryan, Sue Katzoff and her team, just super creative ways to use the existing laws. And then you all just gave us the ability that is now with the state to be able to roll fines over on the taxes. That's huge. We've created the BAA. That's massive. I was a guest lecturer at a class at University of Chicago when I was at earlier this year when I was out at there for a affordable housing finance conference, and I'm like, look, this is the way that we incentivize good affordable housing, and here are all the tools that we have to come down hard on those that choose to offer less than quality housing. Our challenge really is going to be the resources on how we do it. But everything that we've done has been to ensure that we can, community ambassadors, that's what an incredible invention of coming out of Michelle Sapansky's brain. To make sure that people that are afraid to contact code enforcement have somebody to hold their hand and say, yeah, we get it. Here's really where you're at threat. Here's where you're okay. And let me also connect you to the lawyers that are also funded through the CDBG and ESG budgets you guys have in front of you. So to your point, Counselor, like, how do we do it? We are doing it. And we've continued to grow in it, which is why I think that you see so much in the news about it. It's not like our condition as a city has gotten much worse, and so that's why it's all in the news. It's because we've gotten a lot better at addressing what the problems are.
So I just want to mention that Philadelphia has a abandoned and blighted conservatorship law. So I don't know if the significant difference between the conservatorship and the, what were we saying? when you take it to court.
Oh, yeah.
Receivership.
Receivership.
Other than it's a temporary ownership. So, or I guess both of them are, but I think possibly looking at that, not
always
as far as
happy to look at new
abandoned,
ideas.
but the blighted portion and trying to possibly adopt something for our local municipality for those higher occupancy buildings, I think would probably be a really good
Sure.
attempt
Yeah,
at
happy
something.
to look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take
I don't know how it would, I would assume that we would probably look at one of the property management companies like Housing Vision or Home Headquarters to take it on if we did do that. So I don't know if that's more burden on them. But
Receivership is, the court decides who the receiver is, and the real estate management firms that handle that are already they have to be approved by the court. They're already on the court list. So, yeah, we'll take a look at the conservatorship that they use and see where that lines up first with New York State Constitution. So that I've learned over the last several years is usually the first thing that is a challenge when we look at importing ideas from other states.
Yeah.
We've looked at a lot of what Tennessee does around vacant properties that were just challenged because of state constitution issues.
Yeah.
But absolutely, yeah, happy to look at that. Thanks.
Commissioner, do we have a tentative timeline as to when the skyline may be back?
We don't have that because we're in court right now with it, and the owner is like, oh, it's a misunderstanding. We'd like to talk our way out of this. At the same time, they haven't. They've got an elevator permit that they finally applied for, but haven't paid to pick up yet. So they are not doing. They're doing the minimum that they can to not be in the news with us on their back. And we will not accept the minimum, so we're just going to stay after them until behavior changes.
I'm also concerned that we keep it free from squatters or potential arsonists. That's a very, very major concern that I have, and I know we all have. God forbid we have another fire like we had at the convent.
To that point, Counselor, the power had to be shut off when their basement the Skyline's basement filled with 15 feet of water because they had a standpipe burst and they didn't even know because they weren't paying attention to their building. We have refused to turn it back on until their fire, it just got turned on Saturday, and that was so that they can test the fire system repairs that they've done, because we cannot have our firefighters in a situation where they have to haul hoses up from the fire hydrant outside, right? They're supposed to be able to connect to it inside. And so that was a big thing for us, big thing for fire. Yeah, no, absolutely not. And that happened as we were already working to bring them to court.
I think another group that needs to be high on our radar is the American Classic as well.
We are paying close attention to them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I just want to ask this one question. I think I know the answer to it, but I know that the city can take anything by eminent domain that they choose to. But if we were to take properties by eminent domain, we would be responsible for the upkeep, correct?
And they're responsible for the upkeep, responsible for the, when you take a property by eminent domain, you have to, one, demonstrate that it's for the public good. Two, pay what in the end will be a negotiated price, right? So you've got a ton of money into lawyers in the first place. You're paying market value for the building.
All these properties right here, boy, they would kill us, wouldn't they?
They would.
But we're
Yes.
still paying to cut SDC.
Okay, I'm being chastened to get back to the budget hearing, so we've gone off topic.
I asked one question.
She's there for taxes, though.
We did, but to President's point, we had to maintain it money on cutting it, cleaning it, boarding it up. So
That was worth it, but I'm saying.
Yeah, it was.
It's like, I mean, just as from shopping town,
But
I'm
all
involved in the
that-
shopping town thing, and that is,
Sure.
Yeah.
eminent domain is expensive.
I bring it up though because all of it comes out of some of it is out of what we're asking for is an increase in money to cut
the cut and
grass.
clean.
Corey, you got any more?
Rental registry.
Wait,
Yeah.
before you get into that, Jake, just so I know, It's not about the budget, but it's a question about the lawn cutting because the weather's changing. How high is it when you guys start like coming after cutting people's grass? Do we have like a certain?
8
8
inches.
inches.
8 inches, okay,
8 inches is
okay.
8 inches. Okay, some people's grass grows higher in sunny areas, lower there. That's not, okay, we'll go back to that.
I just want to know because someone asked me and I had no clue. 8 inches.
So what we're saying is up to a knee, and she said it depends how tall you are.
Okay, wait a minute. Let's get back to the budget. Corey had
The
a
two, the
question.
two of you next to each
Back
other
to
is
the
a good
budget.
comparison.
Back to the budget.
So rental registry, Counselor, you hit us up.
What's your estimated rate of compliance?
Estimated rate of compliance is climbing to 50% right now.
The auditor came out with a report that it was significantly lower than that.
Yeah, we are calculated in different ways, and we're pretty confident in our number.
What is the fee for the rental registry?
$150, and it's good for 3 years. So it's
$50 per
yeah,
one.
it is not in any way a financial barrier.
Are the permitting fees self-sustaining for the program?
No.
Why not?
And so one of the things that we're looking at in this upcoming year is going to be an evaluation of our permitting fees as well as zoning, because at the moment we don't have zoning fees. So we're absolutely looking at the revenue for both of those this year.
That should be a goal.
It
To be
is.
self-sustaining.
Well, I have a difference in that. Because of the amount of individuals who have not complied with the rental registry, those who have complied, those are the people that you're going to be raising the prices on. When the other people who are out of compliance is the ones that really need to be bringing that revenue number.
I would
Two
suggest it's not
different
binary.
conversations.
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, Counselor. I do believe that we can do both at the same time. So we've done well with finally being able to get in and inspect the interiors with a two-family in the same way that the state requires to do with a three-family or more. And we've also been able to, so you saw the data position that we've got in here. Rental registry is one of the things that happens out of our data department when it comes to being able to run the reports, understand where we're at, who should we be bringing to court, and just where, since we don't have the resources to go after everybody at the same time. And when I say that, we've mailed all the letters out at the same time, right? So everybody's been notified on it. Well, we can't bring them all to court at the same time. So we've been working through that in a way so that we can continue to raise that up, because we will be, we're going to be in the high 90s with compliance.
So I do want to connect the dots on something here too, because recently with working with you all on rolling unpaid BAA fines onto taxes, when that gets approved by the state, so if you don't get your rental registry now, right now we're ticketing a lot of people with fines that don't get their rental registry, but many landlords know that there's not really a mechanism to collect on that right now, but there will be. And all the more reason why we could use more inspectors to help with that. But
The BAA thing, I thought that was for more businesses, like big business. I didn't know it was for.
no, yeah, trash, overgrowth.
Yeah.
You need to apply and obtain a rental registry. You don't get it as a landlord, you can get ticketed. But many times it's going unpaid or ignored. But soon we can roll that onto taxes. But code enforcement inspectors drive those numbers. Code enforcement inspectors are the ones that are issuing the tickets. It's like parking, right? Without code enforcement officers, you don't get BA tickets issued, you don't get the fines.
So does code enforcement, I got two different emails this week from two different people. Code enforcement, when they're coming, like rental registry, they go in people's backyards and do,
A rental registry, it's a full interior and exterior
no,
inspection.
not if they don't know, like you just came and just went in their backyards and
Can you give a little more
find them.
context on that?
they literally went in, oh, it's not.
They can't go in the backyard. They can only go from the sidewalk, visual from the sidewalk,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, well, unless a neighbor invites us onto their property and we can, look over the neighbor's fence into the backyard, which happens, certainly.
In terms of, you talk about the promotion of rental registry, increased numbers. When we look at the revenue, it's a 40% drop in the rental registry revenue. So how do you make those two sync?
So it really comes down to what Jake says around being able to roll the fees onto the taxes. So once we get to a point where the landlords understand that they're going to either pay a lot in fees or just whatever the registration is, a lot in fines or just whatever the registration is, we expect that that'll change behavior. We were really creative with it in the early days of the pandemic, and the fact that what we did when we ran all of the ARPA money and then the state money for rental arrears through Department of Social Services, we partnered with DSS, and any landlord that had open code violations could not collect back rent. And so that drove a lot of successful rental registry certificates. We don't have that incentive anymore, so now that's why we need the bigger stick. And that's what this ability that you all created for us gives us.
I'm more exhausted than I am done.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
Well, I just have one question. You know what, to look before you rent, do you mention not to look at Zillow, look at pictures, and say, I'm gonna sign a lease? Because this happened with a tenant last year. She went through Zillow, signed the contract on Oak Street, calls me, and I went to the landlord. The landlord's based out of Texas.
Yep.
And said she signed it. Buyer beware. He said, well, I didn't know. When I went in, I saw a bad, dirty stove and mice. I said, didn't you look at it? Go, I went on Zillow, just look at the pictures.
So we have seen, Parkside is, not Parkside, excuse me, Skyline is one where the owners have, pictures that they have do not appear to be from any buildings they own in
No, it was on
Syracuse.
Oak Street. And
Yeah, and so what, Attorney General is the one that handles consumer fraud, and so we talk with the Attorney General's office regularly about that type of
Okay.
stuff. And so I would never tell somebody to not look at Zillow. What I would say is, in everything that you're doing, add to that the look before you rent tool.
Right, I told her that, and we went to bed, there was nothing I could do, because once you signed that legal piece of paper, now another tenant says, yeah, we have a problem with mice, but they always take care of it, so I say buyer beware.
I agree.
Thank you. Jake, I also sent you an email, we got an issue on Carlisle's.
Okay.
Carlisle
Okay.
Street, too.
Got
You
it.
have something?
I was just gonna say thank you. I mean, I'm in your office at least 2-3 times a week, whether it's codes, permit, or zoning, whichever. And the staff is incredibly, the service is really good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And, just trying to canalize some Hispanic businesses or people that are not really that English proficient, and with that patience, and, I commend you for that. It's been a very, very good
Very,
experience.
very
every
much
time.
appreciate that, Counselor. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll
Thank
share
you.
that with the staff. Thank you.
All right, so if Counselor Williams has nothing, then I will call the meeting adjourned. Second?
Second.
All right.
Thank you, Counselors. Always fun to talk
Thank
with you
you.
about the stuff we do.